You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's Under the Dome After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Under the Dome After Show.
Hey everybody, Bing is for doing, and we are doing another Under the Dome after show. It is episode 107, Imperfect Circles. I'm Matt Lieberman, and joining me, as always, is the wonderful and fantastic Miss Jacque Borowski.
Hello.
All right, we have a lot to cover this week, lots of cool stuff. We had some tragedy, we had some fun moments. We got to see Big Jim go all Big Jim on somebody and make good on that football story from earlier in the season. We got some shootings, and we got we got some answers, but more really.
More questions.
We got more questions,
Yeah.
which in many ways are better than answers because they are way more fun.
Because they advance plot, too.
Exactly, because they advance plot, and they kind of they felt like we were getting answers. We were moving forward. It was different questions.
Yes. And I think so far, I don't know if you can say this, but this is by far my favorite episode.
By far. Easily. Easily the best episode since the pilot.
And I think the writing was even better in this episode. The dialogue felt good.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of the writer escapes me, but it was a female writer.
Go girl.
Yeah.
You go girl.
Which really was exciting to me. I always get excited when I see female writers, because there should be way more of them. It's crazy. Orange is the New Black is awesome because almost all the writers are women.
All my favorite writers are women.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Go
my
Jacque.
two favorite writers, Jane Espenson and Marty Noxon.
Both
women.
Buffy and
Yes.
Battlestar. They're both great writers.
Yeah, they're great writers.
Oh, no wonder we get along. Okay, but we got to get into this episode.
This is not Matt and Jacque actually get along.
Yeah, that's not the name of the show. This name of the show is Under the Dome AfterBuzz After Show. Okay, so Nori and Joe and Carolyn and Alice. So much to unpack. The tragic death of Alice, which I think is our first major character death, unless you count, of course, the sheriff from the pilot. Well, no, Reverend Coggins died too, but
I think for me, this is the second death I cared about.
Right. It was the sheriff, and
because
then
I cared about the sheriff.
Yeah.
And
Reverend Coggins, who cares? Well, I mean, it was cool and it was brutal, but he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
This was a character we'd come to care about and enjoy,
Right.
and it affected people that we like. So it was a big deal. And such a beautiful, heart-wrenching scene. Samantha Mathis had such great material this week, and the women playing Nori and Carolyn also had such great material. Nori in particular, I feel really stretched as a performer
they're
this
all
week.
great actresses.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
doing I know I just keep saying great, but they're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
I
Really
mean, I was
fantastic.
just I'm tearing up as the whole episode's happening. I laughed, I cried, I screamed.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Okay, so we were both so excited when Alice and Carolyn got that great scene to themselves, and you rarely ever see a lesbian couple having just a beautiful, real, genuine couple moment.
Right.
Between the two of them.
A couple I feel that represents a more genuine couple, because I feel I've seen other shows, and yes, there have been other cable shows that have done gay relationships, gay and lesbian relationships very well, but I think it's always, not that these women aren't attractive, but it's always young, super hot model types.
Right. It's always titillating, or
Right.
in many cases.
Right.
But this just felt like a genuine moment from a relationship where, Carolyn is scared. Alice is running out of insulin, and Alice is trying to, make a big show of how well she's doing. And they have this wonderful dance to that M83 song, which is so sad. But then it really upset me. I felt cheated because they only gave them that great scene because she was going to die, to make you care that much more that she was dying. And it really, really pissed me off.
But this I'll get into predictions. I'm not so sure she's dead.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to save that for predictions. Because what? I don't think that didn't happen. No. I mean, maybe. Okay, moving on. That's the thing with this show. I can't definitively say anything because they give us almost no real answers. They just narrow down the list of questions. So, Nori and Joe have Nori wakes up Joe in the morning
with a bomb mask.
Yeah, with a gas mask on. And it was kind of like, it felt like a cool kind of foreshadow to maybe the alien connection with the dome, just because
or post the fact that they were bombed, you know. So
yeah, but like it just reminded me of that scene from Back to the Future where Marty dresses up in the hazmat suit or in the radiation suit and says he's Darth Vader. It just reminded me of that. So Joe, being awkward, gangly teenager that he is, he's shirtless in his bed, and Nori's there, and he doesn't know what to do about it.
How come you're in my room?
Yeah, how come you're in my room? And he's like, well, hold on, I'm only in boxers. I turn around, I gotta watch. She's like, so? He's like, aren't you gonna turn around? She's like, oh, I'm just kidding, God. And she's just like such a firebrand. He doesn't know, he can't handle her. He's too like small town goofy. He's not ready.
That's what makes it
She's
so
a fast
cute.
girl.
Their relationship is so cute.
Yeah,
to
I know.
me.
But Jackie, she's a fast girl. She'll chew him up and spit him out. He is not ready for that kind of... Anyway, so they decide to go and try to figure out how they can activate or shut down the dome since they have dome powers.
Right.
And Joe likes the fact that he has dome powers. Nori doesn't. And it kind of sets up this interesting question of like, how far do their dome powers go? You know, Joe thinks it's an amazing thing that we were chosen. We were chosen for this. This has never happened in the history of humanity. And he's got a good point. You know, they are special. They are unique. No one has ever had any kind of connection to anything that is unexplained, that is just the two of them. And I'm wondering if they can talk to the dome, what else can they do? And I'm sure that leads you to your Alice isn't dead theory. But like, no, the death scene was too sad. They wouldn't have gone that far just to have her show up again.
They killed Buffy and brought her back. And it was really sad.
Okay, they killed Buffy and brought her back, but she was the star of the show and it was only the second season, and they didn't know if they were going to get a third season.
No, they did that in the 5th season.
In the 5th season?
When they didn't know that they were going to get a 6th season because they were switching stations. But this isn't about
No, she
Buffy.
died twice.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Anyway, you're right. This is not about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A great show for those of you who have not seen it.
Amazing show.
An amazing show. Marissa Serafini on the ones and twos.
If anybody wants to tweet me, I know an insane amount of stuff about it.
Yeah,
so.
Yes.
Buffy is my show.
Buffy is my
Look,
show.
you can tweet all of us about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely
Okay,
her.
but
Under the dome.
Yeah.
Under the dome.
So Nori feels like she doesn't want it's that old X-Men thing of like, are my powers a gift or a curse?
Right.
Right?
I feel like that's
The episode was written by Caitlin Parrish. Good on you, Caitlin Parrish.
good job,
What an
Caitlin.
awesome episode. And we're wondering what their powers are. They're making out up against
I feel
the
like
dome.
That's every like superhero, supernatural kind of story thing. You always wonder like, are these powers a blessing or a curse? That's the thing about being burdened with such responsibility.
Right. Well, you can really say it about any kind of gift, anyone who's good at anything, because then you have the burden of potential. You know, you're able to do this. Say you're a great singer, right? Or you're a great pianist, I think is a better example, right? And a concert pianist, and you know you're capable of this great talent, but then you have to work nonstop to live up to that potential. And if you're not committing yourself to that, then people will feel that you have not, really lived up to that potential. So it's going to be interesting once people find out that they do have dome powers, what they're going to do with that knowledge. So they're making out against the dome, which, like, I guess they can touch whenever they want now, because the dome is okay with that. And then
The dome is happy that the radio frequency has been restored and everything in balance has been restored.
And Joe's like, no, we need to do something that we've never done before against the dome. And she's like, I am not having sex with you for the first time up against the dome. And he's like, wait, you'd be into that? And she's like, she gives that like wry smile that says, yes, I'd be into it, but I'm not going to tell you because we're teenagers, Joe. Get a room for your brain. Anyway. So they decide to go to the center of the dome, which begs the question, Jackie, why has no one thought of this before?
I think Joe did mention it in like the first or second episode, but then it's like this thing with his sister. Joe is just...
He's very inconsistent.
Yes.
But he's also a teenager, so
Right,
he's
so
like
it makes
easily
sense.
distracted.
Yeah.
He's got a girlfriend now, so he's too distracted to remember that his sister is missing, except for when a missile's going to go off.
Or that he was supposed to go see the center of the dome earlier. And
Right.
Then...
But now when he can go with his girlfriend, he's okay with it. He's that teenage friend that you always hated who dropped you the moment they got a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Terrible. Terrible
Yeah, he
Joe.
left Benny by himself to clean up a
Poor
cafeteria.
Ben. Ben, who has been relegated to cleaning up the cafeteria and just being the token Asian, not quite stoner skater kid in all of Chester's Mill, who has had nothing to do since that epic rager that he threw at Joe's house. Poor Joe. But, and I know this isn't going to happen, but I totally want Ben and Angie to wind up together.
Matt is at home writing Ben and Angie fan fiction.
I am not writing fan fiction. I'm going to recite off the top of my dome some Ben and Angie scenarios. What? They're gonna work together to keep the Rose's Diner, functioning in this new dome paradigm, and he's flipping burgers and she's running the front of the house, and then all of a sudden she slips and she's about to drop a tray, but he catches it, and all of a sudden she realizes, wait a second, he's grown up so much since the dome came down. Anyway,
This
moving
sounds an
on.
awful like fan fiction to me.
But I just came up with that right now, so it's not fan fiction, okay? It's fan improv. It's just let's anyway. We're not talking about the two of them yet. We're talking about Nori and Joe, the inconsistent teenager, radical, nerdy, whatever.
Going to the center of the
Domiverse. Right, and they go to the center of the dome. And
can we talk about how they have to go through a random like barley wheat field that didn't exist before?
Yeah, this is a very oddly laid out town. I feel like the layout of the town is very inconsistent. Things keep moving.
And I've seen the map and from reading the book, and it just doesn't seem. I don't know. I don't think that the center of the town would be in the barley field.
But it wasn't. The center of the town was in the woods off of the barley field. They were crossing through the barley field, and that's when the dog got scared.
See, logically, the woods would be outskirts of the town.
The dog's name. We took it down specifically because it was a great dog's name for a great dog.
I'm looking that up.
Okay, you look it up.
Having thoughts.
So, dog gets scared, runs away. They find a mini dome inside the dome with an egg inside.
So meta.
What? So we've got a dome under the dome, and we even had a shot that was from under the dome with this egg in it, and they're trying to communicate with it, and they use their dome powers to communicate with the dome. That was the big thing that we learned this week. That is a definitive answer, or two definitive answers. Truman! Great dog name.
Yes.
Anyway, so, two definitive answers this week. The dome is sentient, and it can communicate with us. We can also, or at least...
And it has a center.
It has a center. And, well, I mean, that was always going to... But, like, what was in the center?
We know for sure that it has a center.
We've seen it.
Yes.
We've seen the center.
And Truman, the thing... there's a dog in the book that's... I mean, it's not the same dog, but it has kind of, like, a sixth sense almost, like most animals do, I feel. you know, and so the dog kind of gives them the clue to where the center of the dome is. And I wonder if that's going to play into it as well, because they can't introduce a dog just to have him hanging out all the time.
Yeah, they can, because he's Truman. He's a great dog, and he can do whatever he wants. And domes scare him, okay? Mini domes scare Truman, and that's why he ran away. Which, like, how did they find Truman again? Because they just...
Wasn't he with Ben earlier?
Yeah, Truman is just all... They need to start looking at Truman, because Truman showed up after the dome came down, right? Because Ben found Truman, and now Truman is scared off by the mini dome, and then he just disappeared, and then he's with Ben again.
Truman has a sense about things. I feel it.
Truman is the dome.
No,
Truman's not the dome. Anyway, so Norrie and Joe can communicate with it by touching the mini dome, and it caused Alice to appear to Norrie. Signaling that she had to go and find her mom immediately. Because
and there's an egg inside this mini dome.
Right. There's an egg inside the mini dome. So we have this very tragic scene where Alice dies, and she tells her and Carolyn to take care of each other. And then Norrie runs to the dome, and she puts her hands on it, and she tells it to give her mom back. And for a while during that sad scene, I just wanted her just put her hand on her heart and just jumpstart it dome style, because she's got dome powers, and she should be able to do that with some kind of dome electricity, you know. And the fact that she didn't even try just says to me that she's not as smart as she should be. She should try jump-starting Mom's heart.
But I feel that she probably thought that the power wasn't in her, that the power was with the dome. So she went to the source, which happened to be conveniently located outside of...
The dome is whatever we want it to be,
right,
or wherever we want it to be. So she begs for Mom to come back, but I don't think that that's going to happen. Jackie does, and she'll explain it more later. But
and there was a dome baby.
There was a dome baby, and we're going to get to that in a second. I just want to talk about the last shot of the episode.
Oh, yes.
So because of this whole situation, we go back to Mini Dome, and the egg has pink lines traveling upward. Pink stars falling in lines. Now, in this case, they were falling up, or they weren't falling at all. But we now have some idea of what the pink stars are. The pink stars have something to do with Dome Egg. And I'm sure we'll learn more about Dome Egg in the weeks to come. All right, so we had some other big plots this week. One of them being Barbie and Julia, who totally did it after last week's episode. They totally did it, and Julia wanted him to stay after, which is, you know, like, so her. But, like, it's sweet, except for the fact that he's totally lying to her about the fact that he killed her husband. But I'm not going to bring that up every week. Like,
that'll come up later.
What's wrong with me? I can't bring this up every week. Anyway, they get interrupted as they're about to totally do it again by Harriet, Julia's neighbor, who, of course, has a moment when she sees a half-naked man at Julia's door early in the morning. Or just really any good-looking, just a man.
That's not Julia's husband.
That's not Julia's husband. Exactly. And way better looking than Julia's husband. Let's face it. He kind of like a George Costanza thing going. Anyway, so she wants to get some yogurt because it's the only thing she can keep down, yada, yada. She sees a vision of her husband, which is really just the dome beckoning to her to touch it, which causes a chain reaction and causes her to go into labor like that, which is crazy, which means the dome wanted this baby born. Why? What? Did it imbue the baby with dome powers? Or is this baby, you know... What if the dome caused this chain reaction to happen so that Alice would overexert herself and die? The dome wanted the only doctor in town dead.
That might be a good point there.
Yeah. I mean, that's what makes the most sense to me, because it's.
Although you did have a good point. Where are all the clinicians and all
exactly, because there should be other people who can birth a baby, because there are nurses who have delivered babies with the doctors that are no longer there. They have experience delivering babies that Alice does not have. So I don't understand the
but
logic.
I do understand that.
Well, they were
Alice
trying to
is
get to
probably
the
the
clinic.
closest person, but
Right.
it's like you could have just, while that was happening, called one of those nurses.
Yeah. Use the walkie-talkies. Barbie, after giving all his big ballyhoo about not being a deputy last week, goes right back to being on the police force this week. Still no badge, definitely gun.
Mm-hmm.
And they deliver this baby. They have a run-in with the Dungy.
There's nothing Barbie can't do, by
Yeah.
the way. He can birth babies.
He can birth
He
babies.
can save people.
Yeah.
He apparently seems to be good in bed.
Sure. Apparently. We don't know. Yeah.
I would guess that from the scene.
The tenderness.
Yes.
The post-coital tenderness.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If we were taking bets, I would say the odds are pretty good. They're
He's good at burying people.
Yeah. The odds are at
shooting
least
them in the cabin.
At least 3 to 5 that Barbie's good in bed. Sure. He's probably. I mean, he's athletic, right? He's handsome. Anyway, we're not talking about that because that's not what this show is about. This show is about domes and people and yada yada.
Barbie's one of the people in the dome.
Okay. Reach out to us in the comments if you want to have an opinion about whether or not Barbie is good in bed. There. We've opened it up to the floor. Everyone can let us know. This is inappropriate because young people listen to our show, which is terrifying. Anyway, so they deliver this baby, and then the final image of the two of them this week is they've got their fingers intertwined. They're all intimate together. This is moving really fast. It's moving perhaps too fast for me.
And the baby is named Alice.
The baby is named Alice after Alice.
Which I love. She says, Alice, meet Alice, and a little tear goes down her face. And I was like, oh, God.
I know. But, okay, here's another theory, right? So it was named Alice. So what if Alice isn't dead in that she is reincarnated in this baby?
That could be something interesting.
That could be something very interesting. Because then, because of the dome electricity, the baby starts aging really rapidly until it becomes new Alice, except she plateaus with the speed aging when she's like Nori's age, and then Nori and her mom become best friends.
And then she starts aging backwards like Benjamin Button.
Yes, back to the baby until it becomes pure dome electricity, and then it becomes a dome egg, which, when they touch it to the original dome egg, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. This is why I love science fiction shows, because you can ask these kind of questions, and they don't sound completely ridiculous, just mostly. Anyway, I think that kind of ties it up with Barbie and Julia for this week. They're going to get more and more intimate until eventually he tells her the truth. Because, come on, you have to. Really quickly, before we continue, I just want to say 2 things. The first thing, for those of you who have been watching our show, you're familiar with Kevin Undergaro and Maria Menounos, who founded AfterBuzz TV. They made a movie this year called The Adventures of Serial Buddies. It's a really, really funny, fantastic movie, a dark, twisted comedy, packed with celebrity cameos. Henry Winkler's in it, Christopher Lloyd, Maria's in it, herself, Kathy Lee Gifford, Beth Bears from Two Broke Girls, Artie Lang is in it, Christopher McDonald, and a really funny core main cast of hilarious comedians. It's Dumb and Dumber meets Dexter, and it is available online at serialbuddies.com as well as on iTunes. It is $4.99 to rent the movie, $5.99 to buy. And all of that money, if you do so choose to rent or buy the movie, goes into AfterBuzz. So if you love our free programming and you want us to continue to do it and make it even better and do things like put together our amazing new website, which Marissa spearheaded.
It's really, if you haven't checked out our website, it's really awesome.
It's
There's
really fantastic.
AfterBuzz merchandise there too.
There's AfterBuzz merchandise too. I didn't even know about the merch, and I'm totally gonna pick some up. Anyway, if you want to support us, this is the best way to do it, and you get a great movie out of it. So it's kind of a bargain for you. Also, we love all the feedback that we've been getting on YouTube and iTunes, and even on Twitter. We love getting tweets from our fans and from people watching the show. We love extending the conversation beyond this podcast. So please reach out to us, and please keep reviewing and commenting on iTunes, because that's how we get tracked in the ratings here at AfterBuzz.
And
so,
I think we have someone from the Philippines.
Someone from the Philippines is watching.
And Someone said they're watching the show even though they weren't going to keep watching the actual Under the Dome show.
Oh, really? They
Yeah.
just like us.
Which was cool.
Which is
Thanks,
super
guys.
cool. Thanks, you. Thanks, whoever you are. So yeah, let us know where you're watching from, and let us know that you love the show, so we can keep doing it and bring you the same great Under the Dome after show programming that you have come to expect. Okay, done plugging. Time to get into some meat and potatoes, the favorite meal of Mr. Big Jim Rennie. Dean Norris. What can we say?
Oh my God, Dean Norris is amazing. I know why he had to have this role. I don't think anyone else could have played it, and
No.
he does it with such finesse.
Yes, he added some real complexity to the character.
I always feel that he's so complex in this.
Yeah.
And his face, the way he makes his facial expressions, they can read more than one way too.
Absolutely.
Which is why you never know what Big Jim is really thinking.
Yeah, I think that the death of Rose really hit him.
Yes.
In a deep way that none of this dome foolishness has so far.
Yes.
I think she's the only person, aside from his own son, that he really cared about in the town. He cares about the town. He cares about the town in context of him running the town, but she is the person he cared about.
Yes.
And now she's gone. So that makes him even more dangerous, because he is a man with something to protect is dangerous.
Yes.
A man with nothing to protect is even more dangerous, because they're willing to lay waste to anything. And in this episode, we saw Jim Rennie get stripped of or strip himself of everything.
Yes.
He kicked Junior out of the house because Junior didn't listen.
Man,
and
that was
totally,
a scene.
he went into Angie's room in the middle of the night after he said, "Don't do it." And it's just like, boy, are you ever gonna learn?
And he slapped him in the face.
Oh my God, so hard.
That was, to me, I was like, for the people that were here at AfterBuzz listening to us watch the show, they
Yeah.
were like, stuff must have been going down.
Yeah, I know. People kept peeking in. They're like, "What's going on?" We're like, "Stuff!" And they're like, "Okay, I gotta catch up." Anyway,
But yeah, I didn't, he's been so calculated in his movements up until this point that I really feel like that slap to Junior was just pure, unadulterated,
yeah.
just emotion.
Well, until now, Junior was the one thing that he couldn't control, that he
Right.
didn't have his thumb over, and it really pisses him off when there's something that he can't control. Junior sickens him, and that slap was just pure, you are a failure. You're not just a failure, you're a freak, and I can't believe that I made you. It was that primal, which is just so awesome, and it's something that he delivers in spades. And then he has this moment with Angie where he's talking about Rose, and she says that she wants to go visit her, and he has to let her know that that Rose is still in the diner, and he's just so hurt, there's just nothing left
Yes.
there.
His face was so profound. When he's delivering this news to Angie, it's like he had just slapped Junior. He's still dealing with whether or not Angie is going to tell the whole town about everything, and she brings it up.
Yeah.
And then he has to let the whole news about Rose sink in at the same time.
It made me almost care. It made me care about him for the first time.
And he had this very just careworn, complex, so many things are going on look in his face.
Yeah.
That you were just like, wow.
You
He's going through a lot.
And it's a small town. I wonder if, maybe in another life, he and Rose would have wound up together instead of him and his late wife.
Right.
Which it seems that way. He was very, very attached to her. And then he goes to visit Ollie and kind of try to mend fences. They're in this arrangement now. It'll make them both look good. Let's just bury the hatchet and be partners. And Ollie is such a dick.
He's like, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, are you so sure that this is your propane beer?" I'm trying not to swear because we have young viewers.
Beer is apparently a swear word.
It is a swear word. It's an almost swear word. It's 2/5 of a swear word. So don't tell your mom. Anyway.
Or use it.
Yeah. And don't use my weird garbled version of it in place of it either, because that's weird. Anyway, so Ollie has swooped in and taken all the propane out from under Big Jim's nose. And it's the first time that we see the propane.
Yes.
It's the first time that we see all the propane, and it's, all these little stacks, these, warehouses full of propane. And he and Boomer have swooped in and taken all of it. And Big Jim.
Yeah, and he's left Boomer there as the muscle.
Yeah, and Boomer is big muscle. He's pretty much all muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boomer is one giant muscle.
One giant muscle carrying a gun until Boomer went boom when drunk Big Jim blew him up by shooting the gas tank of his truck, which was full of propane.
And then it's like Big Jim goes back to this behavior where he's like, okay, I've got a loose cannon.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it back in order.
Exactly. Well, he walks in, when he finds out that the propane isn't his and he got smacked, when he walks into that diner, he is just pure menace. Like, he's barely holding it together. And you totally see where Junior gets his crazy from. Because, that's the thing, is Big Jim, I think, is just better at hiding it than Junior will ever be. Because Big Jim didn't have Big Jim as a dad.
Well, I also think that Big Jim seems to have more of a mind for making plots, where Junior is just kind of reactionary.
Yes. And we'll get into Junior's cold face as he murders one of the brothers.
Junior's very reactionary.
Yeah.
Big Jim thinks through the things that he does. Even he's like
that's interesting. They're kind of like right and left brain.
Yeah.
Like, Big Jim is logic and calculated, and it's just sort of like, this is a threat. It must be eliminated. That is what will happen. This will preserve order. This is the next step. Versus like, Junior is just a raw nerve. He's all feeling.
Yes.
He's all feeling.
And that's why when Big Jim slapped him in the face, that was the only moment I've seen where he really hasn't appeared to have thought through anything. That was his raw emotion moment.
Yeah. That was his raw moment. And it was so sad. Junior was just like, please, Dad, don't do this, Dad. Dad. Like, he's his effing dad.
But
right?
It's like, and it's almost like staring at yourself and wondering, being like, this sickens me, because it's like you have to realize that's a part of you that does these crazy things. And
it's a part of him that I think he'd rather forget that he has.
Right.
Even though he continues to rely upon it in these difficult times. So he comes into the diner with Ben and Angie, and he goes and he gets the secret liquor, and he just starts drinking right out of the bottle because he owns the place. And
as we discover,
right, and Ben's like, hey, Mr. Rennie, I'm a character on this show. I believe we haven't had a scene together. And I think,
why does it? Nobody in town seems to know who Benny Drake is.
Well, because Ben he's a quiet child. He only speaks up when he's got something pop culture to say, or if he's being, like flippant or irreverent, or he's doing a skateboarding trick. He hasn't been given any character development so far. We don't know who his parents are.
I
have seen no other Asian people in Chester's Mill. So where does he live? What if Ben is the dome? What if Ben is the dome?
We don't know even if his parents are there under the dome or outside the dome.
No, wait, but seriously? What if...
No.
But what if Ben is the dome? Seriously, he came in earlier on, before the dome drops. He becomes friends with Joe because he's drawn to Joe because Joe is a dome child. And then the dome comes down and he's there to just manage stuff and be funny.
I think Benny is just the local burnout that nobody seems to notice.
Yeah, I know.
And I love how he's like best friends with Joe, but Angie doesn't seem to really know him either.
Well, it's because he's just that burnout that everybody like sees but nobody talks to, which is like, screwed up, because I'm sure he's got a lot to offer.
He has a luscious long hair.
Yeah, he knows how to
brush.
Yeah, he could be a delivery boy on his skateboard. There's lots.
He could be a model for beanies.
Sure, he could be a beanie model, and he's got lots to offer to Angie. Angie, open up your heart. Seriously, you'll discover that he just got left behind a couple of grades, and he actually is over 18, and he's smart and has a heart. Anyway, so Big Jim gets threatened by Ollie in his office when he's gone through like half the bottle, which like he should have passed out.
Right.
He's an older dude. He can't drink that much. He drinks the entire bottle of whiskey in a day. which is insane. Anyone who can do that has a problem. I mean, he has a problem, but like, come on, that's crazy.
Maybe the dome is giving his body powers to retain alcohol.
Yeah, so Ollie tells him, this is my town now, so you better toe the line or you're gonna get it. So Big Jim doesn't like that one bit, so he starts a war with Ollie by blowing up Boomer, which we'll talk more about the scenes from next week in predictions, but it looks like it's gonna blow up in a big way. All right, so let's talk. We talked a little bit about them, but let's talk about Angie and Junior and Linda. We talked a lot about Ben, so we don't need to talk about Ben, but I just want to talk about hunting down Waylon and Clint, our brothers from last week.
Well, it was funny, maybe not funny, but it was interesting because I didn't really recognize them as characters because I guess they were, they're in the diner, they're causing havoc.
Yeah.
And when they first appear to siphon the gas out of the car,
we weren't sure
if that was them.
Yeah, or if they were just other young street toughs.
And the writers apparently knew that because they're like, oh.
Yeah. Come on, Waylon. Okay, good. Great. It's these guys. Yeah. They had this like very Road Warrior-esque plot to like block the road and siphon gas at gunpoint, which it's true. The gas is far more important than the cars. The cars are going to become completely, obsolete without the gas. Mm-hmm. So the gas is the most important thing. And thankfully, Barbie notices them running off with a trash can to build their barricade, and he puts a stop to it temporarily. Linda tells Junior, all right, we're going to arrest them, and we're going to figure it out from there. Even though we don't have a judge, we'll create a court system or something. And Junior...
That brings up... I thought, though, even for Junior, who I think of typically as a, raw-nerved kind of meat-headed person, for him to bring up the fact that there's no court and what do we do with them, I was like, oh, that is a fair point.
It is a fair point. They have to elect
because so far the only person they arrested, they just shot dead in the woods.
Right. Well, they need, to elect a new council.
Yes.
They need to elect a new council, and the council will vote on such things. There really is no government.
No.
There really is no government, and that's going to become more and more of a problem. And I don't think Big Jim or Ollie is going to allow anyone else to have any control of the town, which is screwed, but it's kind of how things are right now. So,
and this is what happens to a town that has no government and no rules. It's like there's new currency. The food and gas are currency, and everybody's out for themselves. And society is literally falling apart inside the dome.
It's the fascinating part of these kinds of shows. And so Junior wanted to go along with this plan until, of course, he finds out that one of them tried to rape his precious Angie. So that got him wicked pissed, and he's just like, I will kill anything that looks like a is it a Dupree or a Dundee or
Dundee's.
Dundee. Darn it. I knew. See, that's the thing. It's Dundee, and that made me think of The Office. Is the Dundee brothers. Anything that looks like a Dundee, it is getting tagged with a bullet. And he's got a massive assault rifle.
We just kind of knew that they were
totally.
destined for failure.
They're totally
You don't know
gonna
what
die.
their face looks like.
Right.
They're kind of like nondescript bad guy characters.
Yeah. And it looked for a second like Junior was going to toe the line. They had them surrounded. They were putting the cuffs on. But then, of course, Waylon has to go and try to break free. And then Linda shoots him like a boss.
In self-defense.
In self-defense. Because he had a gun, and she just aimed and fired. And she looked great. Like it was like her face, like her focus. She was target shooting.
Yeah.
She knew what to do in that situation.
And she has said up until this point, several times, you don't shoot unless you feel that your life is in danger.
Exactly. Whereas Junior is chasing down Clint, and Clint trips. He's like, I'll come quietly, please. Just arrest me. And then he just picks up that gun. Point blank, just. And it's like that, like nothing. And his face is just expressionless. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, oh my God. It's like cutting up a chicken before putting it in the oven, like to this guy. Mm-hmm. It was nothing to kill this guy. Nothing. Which is terrifying.
Junior's crazy.
Junior is crazy.
We knew that. But
yeah, it's nothing that we didn't know. Okay. I say it's time we go into predictions.
Oh, wait, we didn't talk about the last scene in which they're in the diner. Junior comes in.
Oh, yeah. So Junior comes in. He sneaks up on Angie. How did he sneak up on her?
That was actually a moment where I screamed because
She did scream.
I did scream because Ben and Angie are having this moment where Angie's like, "Oh, this is the first time I've cleaned the diner and not been grumpy about it."
Because Ben's there.
And they're like, there's a sense of pride with like cleaning up the place.
Mark my words, season 2, unless they introduce new characters, they're totally getting together
Oh my gosh.
by season 2.
And then he just comes in and he's like,
Angie. And we're
and
like,
I was
whoa!
like, whoa, holy crap.
Yeah. Which, like, I guess there's more than one door in that place. Anyway, he's like, I have something that I need to tell you, which means you can beat it. And Ben's like, no, I think I'm going to stick around.
And Ben's balls drop, and he's like, no.
Yes, and that's another reason why I'm like, him and Angie totally together.
I was like, I expected Ben to be like, okay, bye. But
Yeah.
I was like, no, Ben stayed, and good on Ben.
Good on Ben. And he was just there. Junior was just there to be like, well, you know, I know that I can't make you love me, and I'm sorry. And she's like, all right, I heard you. Go away. Which is absolutely the call that she should have made. She didn't overreact. She heard him. I think she appreciated that he said it, but they are just words. Go away.
Mm-hmm.
Those are also words. And now it is time for predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so Jackie, you have a theory about Alice, and I want you to elaborate on that, and we're going to talk about more Dome stuff and the scenes from next week. Yeah.
I know that they try to talk to the dome by like touching it and saying things to the mini dome.
Right.
And it didn't really, I mean, it did offer them something.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though it didn't say words or respond in a way that I guess they really understood,
Yeah.
it responded in sort of a supernatural way. And I think that they have such power that when they ask things of the dome, it does respond. So either I think that Alice is not going to be dead, or I think that new Alice is going to have like qualities of old Alice.
Yeah. Like they somehow got crossed somehow. Yeah. Here's what I think about communication with the dome. The dome doesn't speak in words because it doesn't understand English.
Right.
It understands contact because it can read thoughts or feelings or you know, pulse quickening or whatever. And it responds through images. Mm-hmm. However, no, because Greg, the fake Navy guy, totally spoke to Harriet earlier in the episode.
Oh yeah.
He did. I mean,
but I mean, the other thing is, how much is it just mimicking certain behaviors? You know, like, I mean, the dome might not even understand the words that came out of his mouth, but maybe it had seen him before, and it's just
maybe it can
behaviors.
only project to us our own fears and desires for its own nefarious ends. Although letting Norris see her mom,
but it helps them, and it helped the rain and everything, and it let Norris see her mom.
I don't know. What is that dome up to? What is its agenda? You know, something's happening with this egg, and I'm wondering.
And notice we didn't see any of the Alice, Nori, none of that in the previews. They specifically kept it out of the previews,
which is great. Here's what I'm wondering. Did the pink lines or the pink stars in the egg get activated by the death or the birth?
That is fascinating.
Yeah, because the dome caused the birth. Mm-hmm. The dome caused the birth, and I'm wondering, will it fill with energy as more people die, or will there be more babies, or will the life generation of this new Alice somehow fuel dome egg?
And what's inside the dome egg?
What's inside dome egg, and why is it there? And is it generating the dome, or is the dome creating something because of it? We don't know. Also, they need to dig around mini dome and see if it's a sphere.
How far it goes.
It will be though. Yeah. Okay, Jacque Borowski, where can the people find you?
At 123Jackie_B on Twitter and at 123JackieB on Instagram.
Okay, and you can find me at Matt Lieberman on Twitter. That's MattLieberman. You can also find me here on AfterBuzz TV on the Breaking Bad After Show and the Low Winter Sun After Show, both starting this Sunday.
Go see Low Winter Sun. Low Winter Sun starts this Sunday. I worked on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So please.
It looks super, super cool. Can't wait to see it.
I've seen the pilot. It's super cool.
All right. Thank you, guys. And we will see you. We're actually going to be taping on Monday next week, right after the episode airs.
Yes.
At 11 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're up, you can watch us live on AfterBuzzTV.com and join the conversation with us on Twitter live. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you on Monday.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.